What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga breakdown review, where today we're going to be reviewing a fan manga entitled Dragon Ball Multiverse, which is a fan-made manga set within an alternative timeline involving various incarnations of Dragon Ball characters set within different universes and timelines to compete in a massive multiverse tournament for the grand prize to see which universe will be the universe to gain the mightiest of the Dragon Balls. As for many years now, I've been introducing and showcasing various different fan mangas created by the community for the community, so if you would like to check out all the latest and best Dragon Ball fan mangas, then make sure to check the description box and bio down below for all the latest in Dragon Ball fan mangas, including Dragon Ball AF, Dragon Ball X, Beyond Dragon Ball Super, and many others. Then be sure to check out all the Dragon Ball fan mangas listed down below, and if you are new to this channel and are a fan of anime and Dragon Ball, then don't forget to smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload. As we kick off Dragon Ball Multiverse manga chapter number 61, as both Cooler and Frieza face off against Piccolo, as everyone currently who has not been transported out of the tournament arena is now under the control of Babidi. As King Cold swoops in to assist his sons, he goes on to tell Cooler, "Transform yourself, son." As he misses his punch against Piccolo, Cooler immediately transforms into his final form. And now we have final form Cooler, Frieza, and King Cold battling against Piccolo. As King Cold attempts to punch Piccolo, Piccolo is so quick that he is able to outblitz King Cold out of his own weighted clothing and firing back by kicking King Cold away. And this is very refreshing in seeing Piccolo combat King Cold in his own way, because right now it's essentially 3-on-1. Majin Frieza, Majin King Cold, and Majin Cooler versus full-powered Piccolo. And I will say, as the battle continues, it's as clear as day that Piccolo is able to hold his own against final form Cooler, but this doesn't prevent Frieza and King Cold from also unleashing their final forms. As we slowly get to see both Frieza and King Cold begin to transform, Cooler is holding off Piccolo while they do so, and I will say, seeing Frieza and his father and his other son slash brother transform into their final forms just to simply battle against Piccolo is refreshing enough as it is. As both Frieza and King Cold complete their evolution, King Cold goes on to state, "We'll start slow. This form is better for drawn out fights." As Frieza goes on to tell Piccolo, "You're going to swallow your arrogance." As now Piccolo is faced off against all three of them, Frieza continues, "Our power is increased by Master Babidi." As back down on the other side of the battlefield, it looks like Kakarot goes Super Saiyan 2. And I will say I love the overall crazy design that Kakarot has in transforming into Super Saiyan 2. As he is left squaring off against some of the other Universal soldiers, one of them appears behind Kakarot and grabbing him, keeping him in place. As the original individual that was fighting against Kakarot goes on to tell his friend, "I said scram." As the individual holding Kakarot goes on to tell his friend, "Shoot your Alpha Waver." As he goes on to cry out, "Ultra Waver." In directly blasting Kakarot head on, this individual had done what Goku had did back during the original Dragon Ball Z battle involving Raditz, Piccolo, and Goku, in sacrificing himself in witnessing Kakarot be completely blown away. And as he lays on the ground reverting back to his base form, the individual that ended up grabbing Kakarot to begin with is in utter pain. His arm is completely bloody, his entire body is essentially covered in battle scars and blood, as he goes on to cry out, "Fuck, it really hurts." As the one who fired off the blast goes on to tell him, "I misjudged you." As they themselves agree to the idea that the other individuals left fighting have to be stopped, one of them flies out in assisting the other heroes, as we go back to Dabura fighting the Supreme Kais. And Dabura looks incredibly cool, I think, because he's battle damaged, he looks incredibly angry, as are the Kais, as the Supreme Kai of Universe 7 steps in, and Shin looks great because Shin normally doesn't get involved in anything, but in this particular scenario, he's managing to hold Dabura in place. As Dabura goes on to cry out, I can't move." And as one of the individuals is just about to put Dabura down, he comes up with a strategy, and that strategy is to spit, turning the individual completely into stone. As a blast comes hurtling out from one of the tunnels, it hits the Supreme Kai from behind. So now it looks like Shin has broken through his paralysis attack, as the individual that was about to attack and finish off Dabura is slowly turning into stone. Dabura quickly spots Shin and knees him directly in the gut, allowing Shin to cough up blood. This is a barbaric battle, and I feel that it's necessary to showcase all of the blood and all of the gore, as out of nowhere Demon King King Piccolo emerges, as he was the one that shot Shin from behind, as Dabura releases 2 swords in telling both of the Supreme Kais, "You're finished." But just before Dabura is about to go on a rampage with these swords, he immediately has his entire chest blown out. As he looks behind, he notices the Universal Soldier that originally was about to attack him, as Dabura goes on to cry out, You, as the soldier goes on to state, "My nanobots countered the transformation." And at this point, seeing a massive hole in Dabura's chest is very satisfying. As he collapses down onto the ground, Daikaio goes on to grab Shin in stating, "Go stop these evil armies." As they all split apart, Demon King Piccolo is now left faced off against the Kaioshins currently. As they begin to battle, I really enjoy how the Kaioshins are now being put to use, as Demon King Piccolo alongside everyone else who's under Babidi's control have a significant boost in power that makes them rivals to whoever they're fighting. Meanwhile, back with Piccolo, he's left off squaring up against Frieza, Cooler, and King Cold, as Frieza goes on to tell Piccolo, "So, you said you had a score to settle?" As Piccolo wastes no time, he immediately zips right in, punches Frieza in the gut, and as he does so, Cooler rushes on in, but Piccolo grabs Frieza by the tail, and he's swinging Frieza around, knocking Cooler back down to the floor. So this particular version of Piccolo is the strongest we've seen thus far, and he's not looking to play any games with any individual. But as Piccolo is swinging Frieza around, King Cold comes in and delivering a thunderous right hook to Piccolo's face as they begin to clash. And as Piccolo looks over to his side, he notices that he's about to get hit by a rapid amount of death beams. As Cooler and Frieza are unleashing beams left and right continuously at Piccolo, Piccolo goes on to state, "I was a little too optimistic. All 3 at the same time, it's too much." As Piccolo realizes at this point he may have bit off a bit more than he can chew, he goes on to say to himself, "And Cold is much stronger than them." As King Cold continues his attack, out of nowhere, King Cold freezes in place. Not knowing what had happened, one of the Supreme Kais swoops in and paralyzing King Cold and having to state, "You are correct, Kami, I'll handle them." As both Cooler and Frieza notice this, they go on to cry out, "Unhand him!" And just as they're going in to try to save their father from having to be frozen in place, Piccolo gets in the way of both of them and having to state, "Oh no you don't. You're mine." As the Supreme Kai is holding King Cold in place, she goes on to tell him, "Sorry, I don't fight as well as South Supreme Kai," but she begins to use her abilities in pushing King Cold back. As she goes on, but it doesn't seem necessary against beings from below. As she continues to deliver these shockwaves that keep pushing King Cold back, it looks like the Kaioshin does have the upper hand in this particular scenario, as later on somewhere else we notice how Yamcha goes on to state, "I'm going to check where the tournament's at." As he looks outside, because this entire time he had been inside of one of the apartments, he notices how Piccolo's fighting Frieza, the Supreme Kai's fighting King Cold, Demon King Piccolo's fighting off one of the Kaioshin, Ultimate Gohan is fighting Majin Perfect Cell, and Yamcha's baffled and stating, guys, something crazy is going on outside." As he goes back within the actual apartment, he goes on to tell everyone against each other, it's between the 2 sectors, as Tien states we need to help reestablish order. As the current individuals there are trying to figure out what exactly is happening outside, the Elder Kai goes on to state, "Out of the question, you will all stay here. If the ritual is interrupted, Raditz might die. You need to protect us from the outside attack." As of course the Elder Kai is trying to unlock Raditz's power alongside many others, the Elder Kai goes on to state he fell for it. "Raditz won't dare move. I've got him." As 2 more Majin soldiers begin to barge in, they go on to cry out, "Thought you can hide?" as Tien and Videl swoop in and knocking them out cold. Meanwhile, Salazar and Jice outside of the tournament go on to state there's no one from Universe 9. They're hiding. Let's dig them out. I'm going to get my vengeance against that dwarf, of course referencing Turtle Hermit Krillin. As back with Piccolo, he goes on to say to himself, "Perfect. The Kaioshins are still more powerful than the Frost Demons. if I can just gain a few seconds, but then Frieza comes in and punching a hole directly in Piccolo's torso. As the only person that had figured out what Piccolo had just done was Cooler, because Frieza thought he had caught Piccolo with a devastating blow to the chest. Cooler cries out, "There!" As he attempts to attack the other clone of Piccolo. Piccolo is using the after image technique and not allowing Cooler or Frieza to gain the upper hand. As both Frieza and Cooler are extremely frustrated, Cooler goes on to state, "If he just wants to run, I'll go help Papa." As Frieza states, "You mean?" Cooler replies, "Oh yes, too bad, the mission first, death to the Kaioshin." As Piccolo awaits Frieza and Cooler, he goes on to put both of his fingers on his forehead and creating a double special beam cannon, instating seconds gained and fires off the beam directly. This is the first time that we've ever seen Piccolo use not one, but two special beam cannons. And as they go towards Frieza and Cooler's direction, Cooler and Frieza move out of the way, but Piccolo has a trick up his sleeve. He is able to manipulate the overall direction of the special beam cannon, which is zigzagging all around Cooler and Frieza, making it extremely difficult in predicting when exactly the blast is going to hit. And I find this to be very cool in the idea that Piccolo finally manipulated his attacks in having to cut right through Cooler and going straight through Frieza. Frieza had his arms, his ribs, and his entire torso blown out, as for Cooler as well, but for Cooler, the only downside to this is that he had his right arm cut off. Meanwhile, for Frieza, his entire torso's gone, his tail, his arm, he's completely effed in this situation. As Cooler is throbbing in pain, Piccolo begins to smile, and as Cooler still goes on his attempt in attacking Piccolo, Piccolo gets hit so hard that he goes flying right through Ultimate Gohan and Majin Cell. As Cooler pursues him, Gohan notices this and crying out, "Piccolo-son!" But Cell gets in the way and having to state, "That's not your concern." As Gohan goes on to say to himself, "He's stronger than I thought. This won't be easy." As right before Cooler is about to deliver the finishing blow in knocking Piccolo down onto the ground, another version of Piccolo appears and kicking Cooler directly in the torso. As the Piccolo that was originally down on the floor goes on to tell Cooler, "You can end it. I've given it all I have. I'm exhausted." As the other Piccolo swoops in, he goes on to tell him, "Not me." And he kicks Cooler so hard that Cooler is coughing up blood, as the other Piccolo manages to gather enough energy and completely blowing Cooler away with a massive energy blast, saving himself. But in this scenario, it looks like Piccolo had in fact defeated Cooler. As elsewhere, Videl is fighting off against the other Majin members, the two Piccolos begin to talk, as one of them goes on to give the other Piccolo seemingly enough what looks like a senzu bean in having to tell him, "Take it. We have plenty." As Videl is punching people left and right, she's about to punch an innocent bystander as he goes on to tell her, "I'm not with the bad guys." As she goes on to ask him, "Oh yeah? Then what's that headband then?" As he goes on to tell her, "It's a long story. Do you want to hear it?" As she goes on to state, "No." While elsewhere, the other Videl is assisting Bra in having to state, "We're isolated here. Let's go into the public. We can feel Piccolo there." And as they're about to leave, Nappa returns and grabbing Bra by the foot and slamming her directly down behind him. As she lays there almost seemingly unconscious, Videl goes on to cry out, "Bastard!" As Videl goes on to attack Nappa, Nappa delivers a thunderous elbow to Videl's stomach as the manga chapter comes to a close. So once again, this is chaotic. Everybody is fighting everybody. All of the Majins are attacking our heroes. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the other heroes that are currently located on Babidi's unknown planet are trying to figure out a way to escape and returning back to the arena to settle things with all of the Majin members and diffusing the entire situation. So what I really enjoyed about this was seeing how Piccolo fought against Frieza, Cooler, and King Cold at the same time, but also seeing how Dabura was permanently killed off, as many others were during this battle, for both the good and the bad, and the only person to point the finger at in blaming them for this entire mess is Babidi. But the question is, are they going to find him, and when they do, what are they going to do to stop him? I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you guys think about this manga chapter? What are your overall thoughts on seeing everybody fight essentially everybody, and what are your overall expectations going forward in Dragon Ball Multiverse? I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once more, if you guys are new to this channel and love anime and Dragon Ball, then don't forget to smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload. Also, if you guys want to go ahead and read up on more Dragon Ball fan mangas, then make sure you guys click the description box and check out the official Dragon Ball fan mangas playlist, where there you guys will find dozens upon dozens of different Dragon Ball fan mangas created by the community for the community. So make sure you guys go ahead, check that out, and watch all of your favorite fan mangas at once. Thank you all once more for watching, everybody. I do appreciate your time. Tune back in for the next video, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and all his social media platforms. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you can be the first to know every time that he uploads a new video.
Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god.
The fuck's up? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes, but Jesus Christ, that's huge!